kilo class, the bantamweights. Well, you can always follow the World Series on boxing on all of these different social media sites, from YouTube to Facebook. It's at WSB_boxing for Facebook, and of course the website at worldseriesboxing.com, and you can actually go on there and watch all of next season, if you're not watching now, live on the internet. Well, he's invited out our next fighter. It is Arlen LOPEZ of Cuba, world ranking number 4, WSB record, 5 wins, 1 loss this season, 24 years old. The only man he's lost to is Gadzaliev, who is about to come out. So this should be a brilliant battle because it was so close in the regular season.
Red corner, Khaybula MUSALOV.
Khaybula Gadzaliev. Well, a vastly experienced fighter. So, Arlen LOPEZ of Cuba is 1 loss this season, and he's up against Khaybula MUSALOV in this middleweight bout. There he is, Khaybula MUSALOV. And if I announced out the wrong names there a moment ago, it's because the actual bout order has been changed through the evening. So I do apologize if I made a mistake there on the different fighters coming out. So this is our middleweight bout, 70 to 75 kilos. And it is definitely Cuba's Arlen LOPEZ, and he's up against Khaybula MUSALOV of Azerbaijan. And, well, here, MUSALOV of Azerbaijan, one of the only men to ever beat Derevyanchenko, the great Sergei Derevyanchenko. But he then lost to him in the individual finals of 2011. Extremely experienced fighter, the Azeri. As for Arlen LOPEZ, 0-1 in his WSB record so far, losing to Chebotarev in the semi-finals, and no shame losing to that great Russian though. So back to their corners, and it is Arlen LOPEZ of Cuba in the golden whites against MUSALOV of Azerbaijan in the black and fire.
Well, all throughout the season, MUSALOV has really worked in every bout. He brings the action. He's a hard hitter and very aggressive, very, very agile fighter. And look at him trying to pressurize the Cuban from the get-go. But LOPEZ, well, again, like with every Cuban fighter, this is another level. And LOPEZ is another will-o'-the-wisp. This is a hit-and-run merchant. And MUSALOV really got his work cut out here. But you can see this bout getting off to a crisp and very sparky start.
MUSALOV so far this season 2-0 in the WSB, including a win over the Domadores Ramon Luis in the regular season. His experience is enormous at this level. 3 years older than his Cuban opponent, and well, it's the Cuban who's far busier here. Some big uppercuts, though nothing really hitting at the moment.
Well, LOPEZ got more swing than Glenn Miller's band going on inside the ring there. Really some big, big shots flying out. And if you can land one, well, it's going to be a showstopper. But I have to say that MUSALOV's chin has been tested. And, well, you've got to be crisp and on target to put away the Azeri. Just look at him power forward like four-wheel drive, puts the pressure on LOPEZ, but LOPEZ hitting back with those big shots, and well, one of them's just got to connect.
Azeri guarding his face there, trying to push him up against the ropes. trying to bully this man, but the Cuban is a very naturally powerful fighter. I'm not sure that's exactly the tactics you want to do. But he's so experienced, MUSALOV, that I'm sure he studied the tapes and figured out his tactics.
Well, what about this is turning into, and just there, a good connection from MUSALOV. He rocks Lopez back. Lopez brings the action and tries to slow it down and spoil it on the inside. Mick Basie, the referee from England, just having none of this. He's on the case with both fighters. Voted WSB Referee of the Year. And, no-nonsense approach, and he'll keep the action clean.
Well, the pace at which MUSALOV has gone out in this first round certainly make things difficult for him to keep it up over the next 4 rounds. Look at this. He's got his head square on in the Cuban's chest and going to work on him. That's it. End of round number 1. Well, for sheer busyness and number of punches thrown, you have to give it to the Azeri. That is a very dangerous uppercut from the Cuban, and he threw it quite a lot.
Yes, it could have been all different if any of those punches had connected. And you saw there MUSALOV trying to physically impose himself on Lopez. Lopez cheekily put his hands out to demonstrate that he wasn't holding on, but he was moving forward with his head. Mick Basie was right on that. Let's see how the judges found it.
Well, there you go, 10-9 across the board to Arlen Lopez of Cuba. So he might not have been as busy as MUSALOV. That's the way they saw it. Cleaner punches, better technique. Look out then for round number 2, the Cuban in the white and gold.
Well, they can't keep that pace on for the next 4 rounds, or can they? So we're going to see some skillful boxing now during 2 and 3. But I think MUSALOV feels that he can stop Lopez, and Lopez likewise. And the way MUSALOV is pulling forward, using his head to come forward, and referee warning him about that, but Lopez just might land that big uppercut shot.
He's got a slight reach advantage, Lopez, and no doubt the Azeris have figured that out. He's got a vicious right-hand jab, of course, boxing from the southpaw stance. And again, it rocks the head back of MUSALOV.
Lopez now just a little bit more accurate with the shots. He's not hitting target, he's hitting gloves, but at least he's not hitting air. And just how do you deal with MUSALOV? He really is four-wheel drive, getting that head in and pushing forward, really roughhousing Lopez. Lopez looks at the referee as if to say, yeah, what have I got to do here? There's absolutely so much riding on this third bout. This is pivotal. It's 1 apiece on the standings board. Whoever takes this next bout will put their team in pole position.
Yeah, and it is a fight that the Azeri on form is expected to win. When you put the two together, I'm sure their coaching staff was saying, yes, that'll put us 2-1 up. So far things have pretty much gone to the way you would have expected them to. But the Cuban seems to be boxing the better battle here.
Absolutely, this is definitely a case of skills over thrills. MUSALOV throwing shots, but working the counter very well, Lopez. All the work on the inside. MUSALOV holding his man in, holding the gloves down, but once the action starts to free flow, Lopez starting to land his own shots.
Well, MUSALOV managed to beat the Cuban Ramon Luis in Baku a couple of months ago when the regular season came here. He's one of the few men who've actually managed to beat a Cuban this season. It's not Ramon Luis this time, though. He is employing pretty much the same type of tactics, and he obviously felt that it would work again with another Cuban, but he's come up against a slightly tricky customer here in Arlen Lopez, and someone who actually has a pretty hard punch as well, much harder than Luis.
big clubbing shots coming in from Lopez at the end of that round. I mean, this is a real dust-up between these two.
Yeah, it almost feels a bit more like a three-rounder at the moment, doesn't it? They're certainly boxing that way. You know, boxing is there's no more rounds, but still 3 to come here, and especially the Azeri throwing everything into pretty much every punch.
Well, you've got your ticket value all in one fight here now. Just over the last 2 rounds, the action has been absolutely relentless. Interesting to see how the judges find this.
Well, kind of how we guessed. Arlen Lopez then 2018 up. Boxing definitely being given the nod there over brawling, and sheer work rate of MUSALOV.
Interesting, MUSALOV doesn't have a KO or a TKO on his WSB record across 3 seasons that he's been with the Baku Fires. A lot of WSB experience, but all wins or losses on points.
Well, an early jab there getting through from the Cuban, and likewise.
Very rangy fighter, Lopez, and I don't think we've really witnessed just what the reach is for Lopez. He's not been allowed to box, and I think that's been a great strategy of MUSALOV to use the first 2 rounds to close the ring down, go head to head, and really grind his man down. I mean, this has been attritional. Lopez, though, give him a bit of space, and well, the shots are hard when they're accurate.
Now, this head-down technique of the Azeri, he's not really looking where he's going, and it's allowing the Cuban, who's got his head up, watching what's going on, to pick the better shots here.
Well, was the Azeri hurt there? Bit of trickery and showboating going on.
Oh, vicious uppercut in the clinch there from the Cuban. He's just getting the better of all of these exchanges.
Laying down the law, he said, you keep your head up, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. We may see a point deduction, because that's kind of part of MUSALOV's style here, and against a taller fighter it just looks so obvious that he's bullying in with his head. He's being picked off by Lopez.
Unless he's got eyes on the top of his head, how can he possibly see where he's going here? And his tactics are just to put his head right square in the chest of the Cuban and go for it.
Closes the Cuban down, it gives him less room to move, and just that constant rapacious pressure that the Azeri brings. Then he opens it up a bit and starts to throw the bombs, but they're not landing, and again he's being outboxed here by the Cuban. Cuban was rocked there with a shot, though.
Well, he's certainly soaked up a lot of punches here, the Azeri, in round number 3, just under a minute to go. Is he now going to start chucking it out a little bit more?
The Azeri coming from the school of throw enough at the wall and hope something sticks.
Again, his head right up in the face of the Cuban. You're right, it must be very frustrating to fight a man like this who's just stuck to him like glue.
I think from now on we're going to have to refer to MUSALOV as the Velcro Kid, because the hair chest of Arlen Lopez must have been completely pulled out.
Just rams him up against the ropes again. Pulled apart for a split second by our referee, and in comes the Azeri again. I mean, it makes for a fascinating fight, this. Styles make fights and all that. And sent back to their corners. That's it. End of round number 3. Oh, I think this man, MUSALOV, would make any fight. He's just so exciting to watch, just purely because he charges in continuously. He doesn't really know how to take it down a notch or two. 30-27 across the board then for Arlen Lopez, who may well do more of a hit and run now. He's got a good solid lead.
Well, it's not that Lopez is winning this so much as far as the judge is concerned, Khaybula MUSALOV is losing it. They're just not unhappy with his boxing, not happy with his boxing style, and not greatly appreciative of what he's doing there. It's a style that would sort of accompany a knockout shot before the end of the bout, but if it goes the distance and the judges are still in it by the end, well, MUSALOV has picked the wrong strategy. Mick Basie has now had enough.
And giving the official warning to the Azeri fighter there for the start of round number 4. Back underway again. The Cuban 3 rounds up at the moment. 10-9 from each round for all of the judges. So really now just needs to cruise to the victory here, but this isn't the fighter that will let him cruise at all, MUSALOV. He is a brawler. And he still looks like he's got plenty energy.
Well, it's interesting that Mick Basie called the judges' attention with that warning, but I think it was reflected in their scoring. Because, you know, MUSALOV, impressive performance as a brawler, but clearly not appreciated by the WSB judges.
Just running forward with his head there. He has to almost deal with 3 fists here, the Cuban. 1 charging straight at him in the middle, his head, and then 2 flailing from the side. Exactly as we thought. He's now just chucking the jab out and moving on. Just so one-dimensional, the Azeri style here.
Yeah, I think Lopez has done a very good job of dealing with what is a very, very awkward customer. And in the first half of the first round, it really looked as if Lopez was under considerable pressure. He's taken it back now and owned this, and really able to cope with what MUSALOV is bringing to this. I mean, there's no silky skills here, there's no nip and tuck, there's no slick finishes. It really is grinding work, but that attritional work may be something that will favour MUSALOV if he's got a showstopper of a punch up his sleeve.
Minute to go in round 4. Cuban just takes a pace back and puts his eyes on the head of the Azeri and hits with relative ease. MUSALOV just head down continuously, eyes facing the canvas. Oh, and another cracking punch that he just walked onto there, MUSALOV. And the Cuban surely is going to be taking this round as well, unless one of these enormous bombs were to land.
MUSALOV has really ground this bout down into almost powder, hanging on, having to be separated by the referee, and possibly this was the best strategy to deal with Lopez. He certainly had his moments, MUSALOV.
That was a good right to the head of the Cuban. Didn't rock him though. It's the kind of punch that really could knock someone flat out if it had perfectly connected. Oh, well, a little bit of extras at the end of round number 4 there.
Yeah, so we revisit the action here. Lopez covers up, uses the counter as best he can, but really at every stage of the proceedings here, MUSALOV was way into his face, up close and personal. There was a little bit of extras there, and it's a championship, not nice to see.
Well, a 1-point warning against MUSALOV for use of the head, and 10-9, Judge C gave him that round, but of course the warning has negated that anyway, so a pretty big lead now for the Cuban as he was given the round by the 2 other judges, and of course the Azeri has had a point deducted. So just a little word here, I think, from our English referee, which is sensible. He's also got an eye in the corner, of course. Doesn't want this to turn into anything ugly here. It's a middleweight bout between Arlen Lopez and Khaybula MUSALOV. 5th and final round.
Good body shot from MUSALOV. It's cleaner work in the opening of the 5th, but just look at Lopez. Fluidity here, gets the shots off. 3-4 punch combinations unanswered by MUSALOV. Picks away with that left hand. And Lopez slips a big old left hook there, but Lopez has found a way of dealing with MUSALOV, because Lopez himself drawing MUSALOV in to try and close him down, then pushing him off and using the range with that left hand.
He's just feeding out that jab, trying to keep him away. He knows that he's got this on points, as long as he doesn't get knocked out here, so he doesn't want to let this turn into any kind of a brawl here, Lopez.
Well, they are standing toe-to-toe.
Well, he couldn't be any further removed from textbook boxing, MUSALOV. Head right down, not really looking where he's throwing these big bombs, just hoping that one of them's going to land here.
Well, halfway through the round, he's still got a puncher's chance, but Lopez looking uncomfortable, but feeling fairly comfortable at this stage, I would imagine.
Yeah, quite sensibly in these clinches now that MUSALOV is continually bringing on. You can see the Cuban is slightly taller, just putting a bit of pressure on his shoulders, just using his body weight to tire the Azeri.
Good flurry of shots there from Lopez. Some combinations, most of them hit the gloves, but that's a tight guard from Khaybula MUSALOV as he grinds his way in. There's a little chat to the corner from the clinch.
Big left hand there on the Cuban's jaw, but nothing to follow it up with. 30 seconds just over to go in round number 5, and the Azeri is being egged on by the crowd here. They know a knockout is necessary now.
Good left hook. 10-second clapper on the way. The clock now against MUSALOV. Indeed, has been the judges scoring as well. So a last flurry.
Well, Cuban willing to go toe-to-toe. The bell has gone, and it still rages on. This has turned into a bit of a grudge match. Well, you have to be impressed with both of these men for fighting with all of their heart, but the Cuban, well, his brilliant boxing skills just rising above MUSALOV, and despite being a very experienced boxer, the Azeri, he just didn't look like he had anything else to go to bar the one game plan of charge forward.
Yeah, it was very monodirectional. He didn't bring anything creative at all. MUSALOV tried to grind Lopez down across the 5 and then maybe advantage himself with Lopez gradually weakening, but Lopez played it as best you could in the circumstances, and I still think the Velcro Kid is a tag that's going to stay with MUSALOV throughout his WSB career.
Well, the Cuban just dances out to the center of the ring. Arlen Lopez, who surely has taken this bout.
Joshua 44-50. Judge 2 45-50. Judge B 45-50. The winner is Arlen Lopez, Cuba Domadores.
Unanimous decision. Arlen Lopez makes it 2-1 on the night. It's the first night of 2 in the WSB finals. Well, one judge did see it go the way of MUSALOV in the final round, the other 2 didn't. And of course there was one warning point deducted from the Azeri, which is why one judge in the end had it at 44-50, the Canadian Jermaine.
İkinci finalda 5 görüş gözlüyor. Ona göre sona kadar komandamıza destek olmak çok vaciptir. Böylelikle 4. görüşü idare edeceği hakimle tanış olun. Ring hakimi, referi Michael William Gallagher, İrlanda.
So Lopez making it 2-1 on the night for Cuba. Got a barn off the 1 win for the Azeris. As we